We begin with that shocking case of domestic abuse out of Fort Worth. Good evening, everybody. I'm Casey Stiegel. Police say a man murdered his former girlfriend and then fled with their 7-month-old son. Investigators discovered the victim's body last Wednesday inside her apartment on Harris Parkway. Detectives tell us the suspect drove the child to his parents' home in New Mexico. Then days later, he was arrested in El Paso and will now be extradited back to Tarrant County. The little boy has been safely returned back to Fort Worth, where the victim's family will now raise him.
February 11th, 2026. A family is blowing up Talia's phone. No answer. They track it to her job, find it tucked behind a concrete pillar in a parking garage. Her purse, her life, just sitting there. But Talia, she's nowhere, and neither is her 7-month-old baby boy. Listen, what the police found when they finally got inside that Fort Worth apartment, that's when this whole thing turned from a missing person case into every mother's worst nightmare. When the clock strikes midnight, the truth comes out. I'm 12 a.m. crime, and every single day I bring you real cases of domestic violence that turn deadly. The stories the system tried to bury, the victims who deserve justice. If you're about that raw, unfiltered truth, hit subscribe. New case drops every day at midnight. Don't sleep on justice. This is 12 a.m. crime. Talia Sanchez was 26 years old. Let me tell you something. Her family will be the first to tell you she wasn't just a victim. She was more than that. Way more than that. She had this energy about her, you know? The kind of person who lit up a room without even trying. Her Aunt Teresa, she said it plain.
So brilliantly amazing, and her personality was just, we can't let her go that way.
She was amazing. And if you're wondering what kind of mother she was, the kind who would choose her baby every single time. 7 months into motherhood, Talia had a son named Levi. That little boy was her world. Everything she did, every decision she made, it all came back to him. Now, Levi's father was a man named Elijah Jordan Jacobo, 27 years old. He and Talia weren't together anymore, but they were co-parenting, trying to make it work for the baby. You feel me? That's what people do. They put their personal feelings aside and focus on the child. That's what Talia was doing. But here's the thing about domestic situations. You never really know what's happening behind closed doors until it's too late. Make it make sense. So here's where everything starts falling apart. Talia and Elijah got into an argument. We don't know exactly what it was about, but it was bad enough that family members got involved. Talia's sister, she could tell things were getting heated, so she did what any concerned sister would do. She told Elijah, then leave, go to my house and just separate from her for now, so that way y'all can cool off. Just take a break, get some space. Come back when everybody's thinking straight. That's reasonable, right? That's what you're supposed to do when tensions are high. You step away before things escalate into something neither person can take back. Elijah left, but then something didn't sit right with Talia's sister. That feeling when you know something's off, but you can't put your finger on it. Yeah, she had that. So she reached out to Talia, sent her a message asking what was going on. What happened after Elijah left? Are you okay? Talia never responded. Not a single word. No text back. No phone call. Nothing. Radio silence. Now Elijah? He called the sister back. Told her, oh, she's calmed down now. Like everything was fine. Crisis averted. Everybody's good now. But see, that didn't add up. Because if Talia had calmed down, if everything was okay, why wouldn't she respond to her own sister? Why would Elijah be the one making that call? Moving on, the family tried to brush it off at first. Maybe she just needed space. Maybe she was still upset and didn't feel like talking. Maybe she was focused on the baby. People make excuses because they don't want to think the worst. But days went by. And still, nothing from Talia. No texts, no calls, no social media posts. For a young mother with a 7-month-old baby, that kind of silence doesn't make sense. Mothers, especially new mothers, they stay connected. They're always checking in, always keeping family updated, always sharing pictures of the baby. So when Talia went completely dark, her family knew something was very, very wrong. Talia's mother, she took action. She tracked Talia's phone. You know how you can do that now, right? Find my iPhone, find my device, all that. The location popped up at Talia's job. Okay, so maybe she's at work. Maybe she's been busy and just forgot to respond. Maybe there's a simple explanation. But when Talia's mom got to that job, what she found made her blood run cold. Talia's phone was there, hidden behind a pillar in the parking garage, just sitting there like someone ditched it on purpose, like someone wanted to make sure nobody could reach her. And Talia? She wasn't at work. She hadn't been at work. Nobody had seen her in days. That's when the family called the police. February 11th, 11:53 in the morning. Fort Worth police rolled up to Talia's apartment on Harris Parkway, the 7300 block. They were there to do a welfare check. Family hadn't heard from her in days. Her phone was found abandoned at her job, and nobody could get in contact with her. The officers needed to make sure she was okay. But here's the problem. They couldn't get inside. They knocked. No answer. They called out. Nothing. The apartment was locked up tight, and without probable cause or a warrant, they couldn't just kick the door in. So they had to wait. Had to go through the proper channels, get the paperwork, get authorization to enter the residence. And the whole time, Talia's family is standing there, hearts pounding, praying that their fears are wrong. When the police finally got that warrant and opened that door, they found Talia, 26 years old, dead inside her own apartment. The cause of death? Authorities never released that information to the public. What we do know is this. Fort Worth police immediately said it was a domestic-related incident. That right there tells you everything you need to know about what they found in that apartment. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't a random attack. This was personal. But here's where this whole nightmare gets even worse. The police are processing the scene. Talia's family is outside, destroyed, trying to comprehend that their daughter, their niece, their sister is gone. And then somebody asks the question that stops everybody cold. Where is Levi? The baby. Where is the baby? Officers search the apartment. They check every room, every closet, every corner. The crib is empty. Baby bottles on the counter. Diapers, toys, all of Levi's things are still there. But Levi? He's not. 7 months old. Gone. Talia's family, they're asking the police, is he in there? Where is Levi? And nobody can give them any answers. The investigators don't know. They're trying to piece together what happened, but in that moment, all they know is that a mother is dead and her infant son is missing. So now this case just became something else entirely. Now it's not just a homicide investigation. Now it's a race against time to find a missing baby. And the main suspect, Elijah Jordan Jacobo, the baby's father, the man who had that argument with Talia, the man who left and then called to say everything was fine, he's gone too. Let me tell you something. When a baby goes missing, especially in a situation like this, every second matters. Police immediately started working to track down Elijah. They shared information with other law enforcement agencies, put out alerts. started building a timeline of where he'd been and where he might be going. Meanwhile, Talia's family is living in two different kinds of hell at the same time. They're grieving Talia, trying to process that she's really gone, that someone took her life, but they can't even fully grieve because they don't know if Levi is safe. Is he alive? Is he hurt? Is Elijah going to hurt him too? That's the thing about cases like this. The trauma doesn't come in one wave. It comes in layers, each one worse than the last. Then they get a phone call. It's from Elijah's father. He's calling Talia's brother-in-law, and he's asking questions. Where's Tia? What's going on? Like he doesn't know. Like his son didn't just flee across state lines. But here's what makes this conversation important. During that call, Elijah's father revealed something crucial. Elijah had dropped baby Levi off at their home in New Mexico. New Mexico, that's hours away from Fort Worth. Elijah had taken that baby, driven across state lines, dropped him off with his grandparents, and then kept running. So at least now the family knows Levi is alive. He's safe. He's with Elijah's parents in New Mexico. But he's also 3 states away, and they have no legal right to just go get him. So Child Protective Services in New Mexico got involved. They took Levi into their care, made sure he was healthy, made sure he was okay. But Talia's mother? She's frantic. That's her grandson. That's her daughter's baby. The baby Talia would have chosen every single time. And he's caught up in the system, in another state, while his mother is dead and his father is on the run. Authorities kept tracking Elijah. They knew he was dangerous. They knew he was running, and they knew he'd already crossed state lines once, which meant he could be anywhere. Days went by. The investigation intensified. Fort Worth homicide detectives worked around the clock, coordinating with law enforcement agencies across multiple states. They were building their case, gathering evidence, tracking his movements, and then they got him.
So tonight we are hearing from the family of a Fort Worth woman who was murdered in her apartment last Wednesday. Investigators tell us that they discovered the body of 26-year-old Talia Sanchez inside of her home in the 7300 block of Harris Parkway. But they quickly realized her young son Levi was missing. Days later, El Paso police arrested the child's father, this man, 27-year-old Elijah Jacobo, and found baby Levi safe at his parents' home in New Mexico. Fox 4's Vanya Castillo joined us live to sort through this twisted tale for us. Hi, Vanya.
Yeah, hi, Casey. We just learned from the family that baby Levi is back home with Talia Sanchez's mom now. He just got home yesterday morning. Now, the family telling us that they believe all of this happened after an argument between Talia Sanchez and her father's baby. Now, after not hearing from Talia Sanchez for days, her family began to worry. Her family says her mom was able to track her phone to her job and found it hidden behind a pillar in the parking garage. On Wednesday, February 11th at about 11:53 a.m., Fort Worth police were called to do a welfare check but couldn't get inside to look for her. After getting a warrant, they were able to get inside and found that Sanchez was dead. The family says Sanchez's 7-month-old baby Levi was nowhere to be found. The cause of her death has not been released, but take a listen to what Fort Worth police had to say.
This is believed to be a domestic-related incident. And with all the information that homicide gathered at the scene, they were able to share that information with other law enforcement agencies, which ultimately led to the capture of the suspect.
Well, Elijah Jacobo was arrested in El Paso. Sanchez's family says they received a call from his father that he dropped off the baby at their home in New Mexico. Baby Levi was taken into the care of CPS in New Mexico, but is now at home with Sanchez's mother. Jacobo has been booked into the El Paso County Jail, and he is facing murder charges. His bond has been set to $500,000. Tonight at 9, we sit down with Talia's aunt, who shares the moment they realized she was missing and the harrowing journey trying to find baby Levi. Back to you, you, Casey.
Yeah, I was listening to some of that interview a little bit earlier. It's pretty powerful stuff, so we're looking forward to that. We'll see you at 9 o'clock. Vanya, thank you.
Friday. That's when they caught up with him. El Paso police arrested Elijah Jordan Jacobo. He'd made it all the way to the Texas-Mexico border, but he didn't make it across. Officers took him into custody without incident and booked him into the El Paso County Jail. The charges? Murder. And his bond was set at $500,000. Now, the legal details, we're going to keep this brief, because this story isn't about courtroom drama, it's about Talia. But what you need to know is this: Elijah was facing murder charges in connection with Talia's death, and authorities made it clear they had enough evidence from the scene to build their case. He was going to be extradited back to Tarrant County to face those charges. That's all we're saying about the legal side. Moving on, baby Levi finally came home. After days in CPS custody in New Mexico, that 7-month-old baby was placed in the arms of Talia's mother, the woman who would now raise him, because his mother couldn't. One day, they're going to have to explain to Levi why his mama isn't here. Talia's mother already knows what she'll say. We'll tell him the truth gently, as kindly as we can. But we need him to know that his mother didn't choose this, that she would have desperately chosen him every time. Talia's Aunt Teresa said something that hit different. I don't want her just to be a victim. Because that's the thing about cases like this. The violence threatens to become the whole story. People remember how someone died, but they forget who they were when they were alive. She was so brilliantly amazing, and her personality was just, we can't let her go that way. People deserve to know her, and she deserves to be known. She was amazing. The family refused to let Elijah's actions consume them. She would want us to be happy, and so we're not going to allow ourselves to be pulled into all of the ugly, the evilness of what he did. But let's be real, this is domestic violence. Another woman who lost her life at the hands of someone she knew, someone she shared a child with. Another mother gone. Another baby growing up, without the woman who gave him life. Talia Sanchez was 26 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. Now Levi's going to grow up with photographs and stories, knowing his mother through other people's words, because he'll never hear her voice again. Talia's family is raising him now. They're going to make sure he knows his mother was amazing, that she was brilliant, that she would have chosen him every single time if she'd been given the choice. But she wasn't given that choice. Rest in peace, Talia Sanchez. Your son will know who you were.